Hey gang, Pastor Jared here. How you doing? I'm trying to do these videos weekly, but just so busy. But I have a lot of stuff to tell you guys over the next few weeks, and probably over the next few days. So I'm going to be sharing some videos here, and hopefully it'll help you guys. It's helped me. And this video is entitled, "Are you frozen in your decisions?" Are you frozen in your decisions? What does that mean? Well, there are a lot of people who think that thinking about doing something will actually get it done, and it doesn't. A lot of people think, and just hear what I'm saying, don't tune me out. They think by just praying about something, they're getting done, they're making progress. And sometimes they are, and sometimes they are not. Because when God gives you something, when what my wife always says, the opportunity in a lifetime lays in that opportunity. And so if you don't jump or if you don't strike while the iron is hot, you could miss out on an opportunity of a lifetime. And so I see a lot of Christians who are praying and praying and praying. And while they're praying, opportunities pass them out because they're afraid or they're frozen in their lack of decision. And so I'm going to give you guys some things I've learned, because I used to be one of those Christians who I never would move until I audibly heard the voice of God 5 times and in the way I thought I should hear it. And so I want to kind of share that with you guys today, because I believe that even though we're in a season of a pandemic, we're in a season of a lot of social unrest, that God is still God and He's not gone anywhere. And a lot of us are waiting around to see what happens versus making things happen. I remember when I was flying, this was right when I got married back in 2000. And there was an opportunity for me to go and fly for a company up in Maryland. And I was living in Kansas. Or my purpose, my goal, my desire was for me to fly for Southwest Airlines. And I had an opportunity to go fly for the company in Maryland. Everyone said, go, 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 go. And I said, no, I'm going to wait on this specific situation. Well, I didn't go to Maryland. I went to Dallas to fly for Southwest. And the job in Maryland, a friend of mine took, and that job ended in 6 months. And he was stuck in Maryland. And so that's one time when you had to wait on God, or because He had already given you a pre-planned purpose. But there are a lot of people who are, for instance, they're in the pandemic right now, and they're kind of waiting to see what God does, or waiting to see what happens. And I can tell you another time in aviation when I was trying to find a job, and I had no job, but actually I had a job at the time, but I knew that it was time for me to move forward in another job. And so I went from job to job, interview. If I failed one, I would go to the next and the next one. And I was kind of doing like a shotgun. And that was my nature, but I'm finding out that if you know that it's time to move forward, if you know that river has dried up, if you know it's time for you to go into a different area of industry, don't waste time. Go for it, and allow the Lord to bless you in the process. Now, don't just go ahead of God, but there's nothing more important than being in the center of God's will and living in the moment and not being afraid of a little challenge. All right. So I have some keys here that I'm going to share with you guys. And if you want to write them in, that's great too. So the number one thing that I think that people do wrong when they're trying to move forward, when they're trying to advance, is that number one is they're afraid of failure. If you're always afraid of failure, a failure will be your friend. If you are always afraid of failure, failure will be your friend. What does that mean? If you're always afraid of what if I don't make it, what if I miss out? Well, that'll always be the number one thing that is in your mind first. Versus if you have a passion for adventure, and whether or not you have a family or not, because see, your family is watching you, your kids are watching you, and if they always see someone who's overly decisive, overly always waiting and I don't know, then your kids will follow in that footstep. Conversely, if they see someone who flies off at the handle, they'll see it too. But you've got to learn to be flexible in the times when you're supposed to be waiting, and flexible in the time that you're supposed to be moving forward. So if you're afraid of failing at a new adventure, you'll always be in the same position that you're in. That's number one. Number two is always have I call it an exit strategy. So you have to always plan to fall forward, because there are times that you're going to fail. And that's not a bad thing. Abraham Lincoln failed many, many times. He failed more times than he won, and he's one of our greatest presidents. The greatest home run hitters in the world, they had the largest amount of strikeouts because they're always trying, they're always swinging. And if you never swing, you'll never hit the ball. And if you never go interview, if you never ask that girl out for a date, if you never post or write a book, you'll never know how good you could be. And so a lot of us are afraid of failing, number one. And then number two, when you fail, don't fall backwards, fall forward. What does that mean? Well, when you have an exit strategy or a contingency plan, you know that, hey, this could not go, there's a possibility that this could not go well. So what will my next move be if I fail? Don't make your next move after you fail. Plan your next move before you fail, or plan your next move in case you fail. All right? That's number two. Number three is everyone has to have what I call metrics. You've got to have some type of tangible metrics, tangible thing to let you know what your win is. So what is your win? Well, as a pastor, big numbers isn't my win. As a pastor, salvations on a Sunday morning aren't my win. I have my own personal wins that I can gauge off if I'm being successful. As a mother or a father or a cook or whatever, you've got to pray and ask God, what can I use that is tangible to know that that's my win? For me, my weekly win is peace. If I can have peace through the whole week, and now peace doesn't always come by doing nothing. I've got to maintain peace by praying, by giving God things that I can't handle, by walking in love, walking in forgiveness. So there are things that you've got to do to maintain your win, but you've got to figure out, when you take that big step, what will you look for that you know that you're moving forward? Because you never want you never want perfection, you want progress. You never want perfection because you don't want that, because then you'll always be held at high standard. But you want progress. Am I moving forward in my plan? Number four is, what could you lose if you don't try now? Again, we're talking about, there's a difference between a person that hears something or that has an idea, that wants to write a book, that wants to try out for an event, that wants to change jobs. Change jobs. And you know you're supposed to do it, but you wait and you wait and you wait. What would you lose if you went and did it now? What would you lose if you didn't do it now? Could you miss out on a salary? Could you miss out on possibly a new house? Could you miss out on meeting someone somewhere, somehow? I have had so many encounters. I call them Godcidents. They aren't accidents, they are Godcidents. And I've had so many encounters with people that have changed my life by just being spontaneous. I met my wife at the bank where she worked for years, and the bank that she was in, I went there for the first time and the last time in my life. And the bank that she was in, she was there working as a sub for someone who got sick for the first time ever. And so God had us meet that time, and 20 years later, we're still together having fun. So you cannot be afraid of what you'll lose, because what you will lose could be minuscule to what you could gain if you did it now. Not later, but now. All right? Is that five? Now, coming to five. Now, five is you'll always have what you've always reached for. If you are someone who always plays it safe, always wants the waters calm, you always want to have clear skies, you always want to hear from God in a certain way, you always want to ask this person what they think. If you are a Christian, God is there to mess up your reality. He's not there to make you comfortable. He's there to make you consecrated. And when we are trying to move forward in life, we will always reach plateaus or see plateaus that we've never seen before. We'll always have to climb mountains that are higher than the last, We'll always have to go across deserts that are drier and more arid than the past ones. And so don't be afraid of an unfamiliar challenge, because they're there to make you rely on God more. If you're in a place in your life where you're uncomfortable, a place in your life where you have to work to hear God, that's a good thing, because where you came from was easy. If you're in a place right now where you're still hearing God perfectly, if you have no motivation, get out of that place. God put me in a position where I gotta bleed to hear you. God put me in a position where I have to work to hear you, where I go, I need to get along with God. And the last one, I think, is what will be the harvest of your decision? What will be the harvest of your decision? Meaning this: if you don't go now, if you don't make that move now, if you don't make that phone call right now, what would be the harvest in 6 months, in a year, in 5 years? What will be the harvest of your decision if you don't go out and ask that boss for a job? If you don't go out and fill out the application? What's the harvest of your decision or your indecision? I am a go-getter. I'm someone who, I don't let grass grow under my feet. I'm someone who, I'm very aggressive. I'm an alpha male, and God has to slow me down and make me, or put me in a position where I've got to be patient and wait on Him. You may be someone who's really laid back, who's real calm, who lets things come to them. Well, God's going to put you in a position where you have to be the opposite. Because see, if you can do it on your own, then you don't need God. He's going to always put you in a position where it's going to require you to trust Him more. If you can do it, then why do you need God? And so ask yourself, am I frozen in my decisions? Am I in quicksand? Am I in concrete because I haven't moved forward yet? And a lot of things too is that if you have a lot of fear in your life, if you have a lot of trust issues in your life, then you can't trust God, and you will always fear what you can't see. If you fear what you can't see, that means you fear God. That is good. Because a lot of people think they love God, but they actually fear God because they can't see Him. Why? Because when He tells you to move forward in a situation or a circumstance, if you can't trust the God that you can't see, then you can't perceive the thing that He wants you to see because you can't see it. So if you can't trust the God that you can't see, then you'll never reach for the thing that you can't see because you don't trust the God that you can't see. So you'll always be stuck in this little puddle of security. You'll always have a wall around you of, I'm going to keep it safe right here. And you'll only take baby steps. And that's fine. But there are times that God wants you to take a supernatural giant step moving forward. I think that's it. It was kind of a long video, but I hope it helped you guys. Keep moving forward. Keep trusting God. Keep letting God spur you along. God will always lead you beyond your limits, your own personal limits. He's always holding your hand. And just imagine a father holding a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old, and they have it in their arms, and they want to go on a roller coaster, or they want to go on a Ferris wheel, or they want to go see someone that they don't know. That baby will always go, ah. But Daddy says, you know what? I'm with you. I got you in my arms. And so I challenge you guys who have a little trust issue with God, you guys who have a little trust issue with, you know what? Some of y'all don't trust yourself. Some of y'all are relying too much on your own acumen, your own education. Some of y'all are relying on your color. Some of y'all think that your color won't let you in. Some of y'all think that your experiences won't let you in. But we don't trust in horses or chariots. We trust in God. And so you keep moving forward. You let God move you, and then you'll become who God has called you to be. And don't be frozen in your decision. All right, that is it. I love you guys, and we'll see y'all again soon. See ya.